Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Remember, if you love film, gaming, or television content, please consider clicking that subscribe button because it is that time of the year where we start ranking things. So let's get into my top 10 seasons of television in 2022. Now, unlike films, I do not watch a whole lot of television, so if there is a show that is widely acclaimed that you really like and it doesn't get mentioned, odds on I probably haven't seen it. However, I think this year was the most that I have ever engaged with so many new seasons of television because I don't think I could have made this list any other year because I simply just did not watch that much TV. I think this was a pretty stacked year and there were many different genres to dive into, and I feel like there was something for everyone when it came to the amount of diverse television content available, as streaming has really solidified itself as being the number one way to access these shows. Anyway, with all that said, let's get into number 10. So at number 10, I have one of my favorite shows that Marvel has released, and probably the last good one before they just started releasing utter crap. I have Moon Knight. Now, is this perfect? No, but I think it is a really fun ride, and Oscar Isaac gives one of the better MCU performances I have seen. Episode 5 of this season in particular is actually masterful, as we learn a lot about both Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. And when it dives into some deeper themes, I think it did a phenomenal job. Unfortunately, the final episode does feel a little rushed, even though I do like that episode, and I think there were one or two episodes that just weren't the best and they were a bit slow in terms of their pacing. However, with all of that said, there is a lot in here to really enjoy, and that is why it has made it to number 10.
Yeah! Congratulations.
At number 9, I have a show that I think a lot of people seem to have forgotten about, but it drew a lot of attention when it released, and that is Peacemaker. Following on from a very great Suicide Squad film, James Gunn gives us an extremely fun season of television that features a career best performance from John Cena. I'm really hoping there will be a season 2 because so much of this was really enjoyable. I also thought that Vigilante was one of the funniest characters on a TV screen this year. The only major issue is practically what I mentioned earlier. Some of this is surprisingly forgettable, and I hope season 2 can just ramp up the craziness to 11 so that it just sticks in my mind a little better. And also, that intro sequence was absolutely phenomenal. After following up the best season of the show so far, Rami season 3 had some really big shoes to fill, and I think it does a pretty great job of following up on that. I was concerned initially because this was not gripping me like the previous 2 seasons did, apart from an episode here and there. But in the final 3 episodes of the season, it becomes extremely focused, culminating in one of the most beautiful scenes to end a season of television I saw this year. If the rest of the season hit that high mark, it would be competing for the top spot on this list easily. As per usual, the performances from the whole ensemble are brilliant, and I just love how much this show has taught me over the years. If you want to see more of my in-depth thoughts with this season, I have a review right above me. At number 7 is another show that had some massive shoes to fill and had a lot of nervous anticipation around it, and that is House of the Dragon Season 1. It felt like pretty much all goodwill towards Game of Thrones stuff was gone, and this season did a pretty great job of getting everyone excited about this Game of Thrones universe again. I think the season is a great prequel, and it gets its run off to a very promising start. Like Rami, when it becomes fully focused in the last few episodes of the season, it reaches this really high level of quality. However, the first half of the season is a little all over the place, and the consistent time jumps had me playing catch up a lot of the time. Technically, the show might be the best of the year, The world on display, as per usual from this kind of show, is just fantastic, and I cannot wait to see what season 2 brings us. At number 6 is maybe the most underrated season of television that I've seen in quite some time, and that is This Is Going to Hurt. If you don't know about this show, it is a miniseries starring Ben Whishaw, who works in the gynecology ward at a hospital. I need to say that right now, this is unlike any other doctor show. It is very emotional, and at times, it's a truly heartbreaking story that goes into the stress and how people who work in this profession are just constantly overworked. The way it tells its message is very tragic, and the performances from Ben Whishaw and Ambika Mod floored me. This was a show I binged in about 2 days because it is just so engaging that the show just has this grip on you and it doesn't let you go until it's finished. I will say this show is not for the faint of heart. We explore some truly tragic events that may disturb some viewers, but the way it explores it is very purposeful and respectful to people who have been victims of some of the themes that this show explores. A truly great watch that I could not recommend enough. This one kind of snuck up on me as well. I had no idea about this show until my fiance suggested it to me, and it was a fantastic suggestion, so I'll pass that on to you now. Now, at number 5, we have a show that gained a little bit of controversy when it released. However, to me, it really worked. That show is Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. The reasons for the controversy are, firstly, Adam McKay has direct involvement, so need I say more? Everything he's involved with draws very divisive and explosive reactions on either side, and because of his involvement, a lot of questions around the authenticity of this came into question, with players like Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar refusing to watch this show because it did not tell a story that was true to their experience. With all of that being said, I thought the show was extremely enjoyable, and I am so glad that it got greenlit for a second season because it was an interesting season of television. While a lot of this may not be 100% accurate, there is still a lot to learn here about what happened behind the scenes of how the Showtime Lakers began, and as a huge fan of basketball, this is one of the best shows to ever feature the sport. Also, as a Boston Celtics fan, the way that Larry Bird and the Celtics are portrayed in this show really capture that rivalry between the Celtics and Lakers really well. At number 4, we have a show that felt a whole lot smaller and more intimate in its first season, to then ballooning out to becoming one of the most popular series on TV right now, and that is Euphoria, and for this list, Euphoria Season 2. I don't want to sound super pretentious here, but when this show became popular, the discussion around it just became dumber and dumber. I feel so many people just miss the whole point of the show at times. I've also read about it, and I also really don't get why Sam Levinson's direction and treatment of the characters is so despised, but everyone at the same time really loves the characters and the writing and direction of the show, in which he had full creative control over. I mean, the way he gets criticized but the show doesn't feels like such a massive contradiction, but anyway, that is definitely not my opinion of the show or Sam Levinson. Sure, there are definitely some things that could be improved on, like the sexualization of Sydney Sweeney should be decreased, even by a little, because it's getting a bit much. But overall, his direction and writing is at a really high standard for both these seasons, and I give him full credit for that. I will say though, in fairness, that I think season 2 does feel like a little bit of a step down in my opinion, because to me, the first season just hit so many marks for me, and I genuinely think that first season was a masterful season of television. Season 2 seems a bit messier and doesn't manage to give every character the time of day they need to be impactful like the first season did. But there is still so much to love here, and it is still better than the majority of television that releases each year. Zendaya as Rue is absolutely electric. It is maybe the best performance on television right now. Episode 5 in particular of this season had me feeling very emotional because both the direction and the career-defining performance from Zendaya combine in a really, really intense sequence that just has you in awe as this character just continues to spiral. As per usual, the show looks absolutely stunning, opting for an orange color palette instead of the purple one in the first season, and to me, this established itself as already one of the best shows currently on television. It will be interesting to see where season 3 is headed because it seems like it's a little bit up in the air now after how the second season ended. And I'm also really excited for the new show from Sam Levinson in The Idol, which may be one of my most anticipated seasons of television for next year. Out of all of the shows on this list, none of them are more divisive than number 3, which to me fixes a lot of issues caused by its previous finale, and that is Dexter New Blood. I've never really talked about Dexter on this channel yet, but to fill you in, with the mainline show, I have a very similar opinion to everyone else. I really love the show and I have rewatched it many times. Dexter is one of the most fascinating characters ever put on a television screen, and Michael C. Hall nails his role every single time. However, the final season just lets it all down and gives us one of the worst endings to a TV show ever. At first, I remember not being too offended by it, but after subsequent rewatches, it just got worse and worse and worse, and now I just completely hate that ending. Dexter New Blood was a long-awaited season of television for fans, as it hoped to really redeem a lot of the tragic events in the final season and give this character a much more deserving ending. To some fans, it blew the ending a second time, and to others, it really redeemed that ending. I am definitely on the redeeming side. I think that the way that this show just thrusts you back into the tension that Dexter gives you was amazing. Also, adding Harrison as this element that really softens Dexter was really interesting. Not only does it do that, but the way this show has always presented us this fun and justifiable murder that turns Dexter into this dark defender because of the fact that we are following this very unreliable narrator in Dexter, gets completely turned on its head when he performs these acts in front of Harrison. You fully see how twisted and how much of a monster Dexter is, as we were always willing to turn a blind eye, and New Blood just puts that at the forefront. With the divisive finale, I don't really agree at all with a ton of the criticism it received. There was maybe one missed opportunity in the finale, but other than that, I really think that when Dexter is backed into a corner, he is always willing to break the code. In New Blood, he is like a wounded animal who is desperate and must be put down because of all of the atrocities he committed. It further complicates and adds even more to this fantastic character. The way the show ends, I think, was brilliant, and it was more or less similar to the ending I had envisioned for Dexter when this show was about to release. At number 2, I have Stranger Things Season 4, and I mean, what more can really be said about this show? Every season is just such a fun time and kind of encapsulates all of the good aspects of Netflix. However, a consistent issue I found was that every season, while I remember enjoying immensely to the point where I would binge the whole season in one day, kind of becomes forgettable after 2 or 3 months. However, with season 4, that was not the case, and it easily became my favorite season of the show purely because of that. I love how this just feels like the biggest show on TV right now, and splitting the season into 2 parts was brilliant. The final 2 episodes were both the length of a feature film, and honestly, I thought that format was still really enjoyable. All the characters are just fantastic, And the Upside Down is one of the most interesting places in television right now. The answers this gave us in relation to that was absolutely brilliant, and it all culminates in a brilliant setup for what will be the final season. I also loved Vecna. He is by far the best villain in Stranger Things. He goes on these really, really long monologues at points, and you're just kind of on the edge of your seat because he gives you some really interesting answers to this world. Honestly, it is just a really, really fun show, and if you're one of the 5 people who haven't seen this yet, you definitely should because it is brilliant. There's not a whole lot to dislike, and it keeps just delivering on consistent quality. I'm very optimistic that this will come to a really good conclusion because they have just set up so much. It would be such a failure if they blew the ending at this stage. Number 1 on this list is really a no-brainer if you are familiar with this channel. It is the only 1-hour review I have ever made because I love this show so damn much. I am of course talking about Better Call Saul Season 6, which proved to be one of the best conclusions of a television show ever. Jimmy McGill turning into Saul Goodman was brilliant in every way imaginable. I really think Vince Gilligan is a true master of his craft, and Bob Odenkirk just deserves so many awards for his performance as Saul Goodman and turning this almost comedic goofy character into one of the most 3-dimensional characters in all of Breaking Bad. I mean, if you let me go on, I could talk about this show for another hour because I love everything about this season. Without fail, each and every character get the best possible conclusion for their arcs. The final episode is truly masterful stuff. I mean, no episode of television personifies that word more. Anyway, I'm going to stop myself here because I just won't stop. If you want to hear my full thoughts on the entire show, I have that hour-long video which I put a ton of effort into. But to summarize all of that, it was a masterpiece of a season. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I think it was a brilliant year for television, and here is hoping that 2023 will be even better. Rankings for my top 10 games, top 10 worst movies, and my personal 2022 Academy Awards will be dropping sometime in the early year, so definitely look forward to that content coming soon. Now I have given my list, I really want to hear yours. Give me your top seasons of television this year in the comments below. I think there will be some wildly different lists and I would love to see it. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.